Flowers. We give them to each other to express our most powerful feelings.
Oh, wow.
From passionate love to abject apology,
3 bunches of 10.
from joyful celebration to profound grief, they mark the most important moments in our lives.
They're amazing. They're so beautiful. Here in the UK, we spend over £1 billion every year on one of the most fragile and beautiful things on the planet, flowers. But where do they come from and how do they get here?
Millions of men and women all over the world work to bring these flowers into our homes. The beating heart of the world's cut flower business is a market like no other. A vast complex the size of Monaco that draws billions of flowers from around the globe for the buyers that do battle with each other in what's known as the Wall Street of flowers.
I've been given exclusive access to the largest flower market on Earth at one of the busiest times of the year to follow the truly extraordinary journey of flowers.
I'll be joined by Simon Lycett, florist to celebrities and the royal palaces.
Flowers knock some of the rough edges off life and make it a whole lot more enjoyable for many, many people.
This is the miraculous story of how 3 of our most loved flowers, the rose, the lily and the tulip, are bred,
That's the stamen.
Dit is de stamen.
That is massive.
grown
I could nearly cry. I work with these on a daily basis and I've never seen them in such quantity, and they...
transported thousands of miles in just 48 hours to arrive pristine and beautiful for us to share them with the people who matter most. It's the most beautiful race against time. Simon Lycett created the exquisite flower arrangements for Posh and Beck's wedding and is florist to the royal palaces. He spends his life working with flowers, but he's never explored the miraculous journey of how they get from the other side of the world to his workshop.
As florists, a lot of us take for granted the fact that we can ring our wholesaler, we can pop into New Covent Garden Market, and that there will be the flowers we want. It's always mystified me. If I want 20,000 sweet avalanche roses on Thursday, I can have them. Where do all these roses come from that we used?
Around 70% of all the flowers we buy in the UK arrive via the Netherlands. Most pass through a 60 square mile area in Holland, made up of 3 huge flower markets: Aalsmeer, Naaldwijk and Rijnsburg. Together they form the biggest flower market in the world.
This is Aalsmeer Flower Market. This structure covers 1 million square meters, giving it the largest footprint on the planet. This is just one part of a vast market complex processing 12.5 billion plants and flowers a year.
Every 24 hours, almost 30 million flowers arrive here from all over the world. The auction begins at 6 a.m. and there's just a 4-hour window to sell every single stem. There are 7 auction rooms, an electric monorail system with 18 kilometers of track, and it's the run-up to Mother's Day and millions of flowers will be sent to the UK.
This place is absolutely vast. It's like a town where the houses move.
This entire market complex is owned by Royal Flora Holland, a cooperative of flower growers. It began over 100 years ago. Towards the end of the 19th century, Dutch farmers and gardeners started to grow and sell cut flowers to supplement their incomes. Then the growers came up with a brilliant idea to join together and sell their flowers from one place at special auctions. These gave buyers a wider choice of flowers, but they had to compete with one another to buy them, giving the growers a better price. The Dutch flower industry exploded. By the 1920s, Dutch buyers started driving across Europe to sell their flowers. Known as Flying Dutchmen, they based themselves in the markets, and they still operate here today. Robert Jansen is a Flying Dutchman who works with his father in the family business.
Right, here we go. Wow, Robert, this is so beautiful.
Yeah.
They supply flowers to 140 clients in the south of England. Yesterday, he bought half the flowers he needs for his next trip to the UK.
Why is your lorry laid out in such a beautiful way?
It must look like a shop for my customers.
It's a shop, so your customers come in here?
Yes, then they can choose whatever they like. It must be like a showroom,
Yes.
so it have to be laid out really good.
How much does it cost for this lorry to go to the UK and come back?
Every week it's cost you about 6,000, 7,000 euros.
In petrol and time.
Yeah. And the space what you rent at the auction, things like that.
So you've got to make sure that you sell every single bunch of flowers.
Yes.
But the cut flower business is rapidly changing. Increasingly, it's dominated by big exporters who only buy in fast scale and sell globally. Simon has gone to the dealing rooms of one of the very largest. Bart Dijvenvoort's company has an annual turnover of almost 100 million euros.
How much money will you spend?
Normally
Yes.
it's 300, 400,000 quid a day.
So this is a very busy time.
This is a very busy time, yeah.
The flowers that you're buying, you're going to send all across the world?
All across the world, yeah, that's true. 10, 15 different countries or something.
Wow.
Poland, England,
Poland,
Czechia,
England.
Spain, Portugal, France, Russia, Siberia, Switzerland, Germany. Yeah,
These flowers really are
yeah, they go.
going worldwide, aren't they?
There's one flower that will be at the very top of Bart's shopping list, the rose. Each day, almost 15 million of them pass through the market to be sold on all over the world. They are the best-selling flower in the UK. Our love affair with them stretches back through time. The Romans believed the rose was a symbol of Venus, the goddess of love. Wars have been fought in their name, and Shakespeare celebrated them in his sonnets. For decades, most of our roses were grown in Europe, but today we want more affordable roses all year round, and that means 70% of the roses we buy in the UK are grown in a country which has perpetual sunshine, Kenya.
I'm heading to Nanyuki in Kenya. Thanks to the warm climate and low labour costs, the Kenyan flower industry has grown tenfold over the last 30 years. Kenya is now the third largest producer of cut flowers in the world. The bulk of the roses grown in Kenya are for supermarkets, but one farm here grows some of the most beautiful and rare English varieties you can buy. And I love them. It's strange to have come all the way to Africa in search of English garden roses, but I'm off to Tambusi Farm, who are famous in my world for growing scented roses. And to me, they're Dom Perignon. They are the rose of my choice. The farm is nestled in the foothills of Mount Kenya. Originally, it was a beef and dairy farm, but 20 years ago, the owners decided to switch to growing scented roses for the high-end market. Today, they have 6 greenhouses on 60 acres and employ 500 people. You lead on.
Okay, just follow me, please.
Do I step in this?
Yes, you have, because that is a disinfectant as you head at the greenhouses.
Oh my
Welcome to greenhouse.
gosh, so exciting to be here. The rose growing industry is relatively new in Kenya. Rebecca Mubiani had never even seen a rose before she started working in the business 2 decades ago. Today, she oversees the cultivation of all the roses, including some created by the legendary English breeder, David Austin.
Smell it.
Oh, And this is a David Austin rose.
This is a David Austin rose.
Relatively new, strong colour, so very on trend, the sort of the hot colours. In London,
hot colours.
I create flower arrangements for a lot of my clients. Many are weddings using all the pale colours behind you, but a lot of the parties love that pink. So which of all of them is your favourite rose?
My favourite rose is Juliet.
And what are you harvesting? This is
Juliet.
Juliet. Look at that. Look
at that colour.
that. Wow. Really pale.
Yes.
And then very deep.
Yeah. It will open to this orange, and I love it.
You honestly cannot believe how extraordinary it is for me to be here amongst all these beautiful... I could nearly cry. I work with these on a daily basis, and I've never seen them in such quantity, and they...
Oh my God!
The farm is owned and run by Maggie Hobbs and her husband Tim. They grow over 70 varieties of rose, but in a fiercely competitive market, they're constantly trialling new breeds.
So this is where we look at plants that we think we might grow in the future.
Yep.
We take them from all sorts of different breeders, lots of different places, and we tend to select primarily for beauty and scent. We want to delight people like you.
Well, you certainly do it so well, my God.
Let's go and see where we choose what the next Tambuzi roses are going to be.
Wow.
This is a spray rose, so you're getting 4 different flowers on there. You're getting a little bit of scent, not heavy scent. It hasn't got enough scent, perhaps. I don't know. What do you think?
No, it's
on the edge. So we will come in with a sheet and we'll say, colour, yes, so we give that a 9. Shape, we're really liking the shape. The scent, we're going to give it a 3 or a 4. And we would then rate it overall to see if it becomes a Tambuzi rose.
And will fragrance win over virtually everything else?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Because fragrance
I'm with
is
you.
because fragrance is actually not what anyone else is doing.
These roses are already opening when they're cut, so by the time they arrive anywhere in the world, the flowers are ready for immediate display. But their large open blooms are incredibly fragile. I'm curious to find out how they survived their 4,000-mile journey. So, Shadrach, the roses have come from the field. Shadrach Atanda has the huge challenge of ensuring these roses get to buyers like me in perfect condition.
It takes 30 minutes from the time it's harvested up to this place.
And why is that so crucial?
It's so crucial because, we need to really cool that field temperature very quickly so that the flower is still alive.
As a florist, I know cut flowers deteriorate very quickly in the heat. At their field temperature of 25 degrees, these roses will age around 30 times faster than at their ideal storage temperature just above freezing. Chilling them too quickly can kill them, so they need to be cooled down slowly, in stages. How long do you keep them in here?
24 hours. The reason why I'm taking 24 hours to cool it down is to ensure that this flower, I feed it properly, and through feeding, it's even becoming more stronger and even opening up a little bit, so that now it has the right cut stage that our customer requires.
24 hours in a cool room like this is a long time in the life cycle of a rose, but it's vital. This vast flower head needs to be slowly and gently put to sleep, and then it will reawaken when you get it into your vase. Because they're an open flower that are being transported, not tight buds that we see elsewhere, these flowers need extra special care. So they've pioneered a packaging technique where they're using cardboard to separate each bloom so that even if that box is kicked from here to Siberia, they'll arrive unbruised. Then the team add one final touch.
This is a mattress foam that has the post-harvest solution also.
So they're going to drink?
It's still drinking and feeding.
Then the bunches are carefully packed in special boxes.
We do the strapping here, and then we are doing something special inside every one of our box. We have this one, is a transport care sheet. This produces a gas called hydrogen chloride, so that in case of any spores of botrytis, now our flowers will not be infected.
Botrytis is a fungus that can destroy roses. So this sheet of very special impregnated
Very special,
paper goes
yeah.
on to prevent diseases.
Diseases.
Tambusi caters to a small select clientele, like me and other high-end customers. Their flowers are expensive, at between £1 and £2 a stem. The bulk of the Kenyan flower industry grow very different varieties for a mass market, supplying supermarkets with huge quantities of roses at a fraction of the cost, around 40 to 60 pence a stem. I've come to Sian Roses, one of the largest growers in Kenya. They have 3 flower farms covering 250 acres, over twice the size of the Vatican City, and they employ 2,000 people. Every year, they send 5 million roses to the UK.
So this is one of the production unit.
General Manager Clement Nairteach is showing me around. Wow. Wow, it's huge. How many plants are in 1 hectare of greenhouse?
We have 80,000.
And how many flowers will 80,000 rose plants produce each year?
1.8 or thereabout million stems per year.
They have 100 of these polytunnels, and every year they produce 150 million stems of roses. In contrast to the Tambusi roses, these are cut just as they're about to bloom. So when we buy them in the UK and put them in water, they will open in our vase. If you cut too early, what will happen to them?
If you cut it too raw, it will never open, and the customer will not get to appreciate the beauty of the rose.
The cut point on any stem is like an open wound. If it gets infected, the rose won't be able to drink the water it needs, so each flower is put in an antibacterial solution. These smaller, less open roses can be cooled faster, in under 12 hours. Then they are graded and packed. Sian sells flowers to Asia, the Middle East and Australia, but Europe is their biggest market. These roses won't travel with water because the extra weight would mean much higher air freight costs and a higher price for you and me. It's cold in here.
It's cold enough.
So to make sure they survive their big journey, they're given one last drink, cooled down further to 2 degrees into an almost sleep-like state and densely packed in boxes. I'm following the roses to Nairobi Airport to see them head off to Holland. Before they can board the plane, each box needs to be x-rayed for security. I'm quite liking the x-ray of a rose. They're rather beautiful. Sort of a little bit art house.
Yeah, you know, it does rob them a bit of their colour, but, you know, it's there for them to see.
Art Wright, General Manager for Panalpina Airflow, has to make sure that flowers from all over Kenya make it onto the planes safely. And this is all going on 24 hours a day.
365 days a year.
And how many stems will pass through here in a day?
Well, close to 25 million stems. People in the UK and Europe love a good rose.
They do love a good rose. Once the flowers have passed security, teams of cargo handlers build them into huge pallets ready for loading onto the cargo planes. This is extraordinary. These pallets, each of them weighing between 2 and 3 tons and containing up to 100,000 stems of flowers, have been gathered from all across Kenya, boxed down in a compact manner, and they're going to start their journey, 4,000 miles to the markets. The flowers are often shipped at night so they can arrive early in the markets. I've been given access to one of the cargo planes as it's about to be loaded. It's massive. And every night, planes like this leave Kenya packed with flowers. Last year, over 2,000 planes flew out of Kenya, packed with flowers destined for the Dutch markets.
These roses have just traveled 4,000 miles from Africa. By the time they get here, they are really in need of some TLC.
Many of these roses are destined for supermarkets. For the majority of their journey, they have to be kept chilled. But while they're being unloaded, the roses are exposed to temperatures of 15 degrees. It's now a race against time to break up these huge bales and transport the boxes to the far side of the complex, where the roses are readied for auction. Aalsmeer is vast, and they need to travel almost half a kilometre to get to Fresco Flowers, the company that unpacks them, checks them for quality, and prepares them for sale. They process 20% of all the roses that come to this market. Hery and Telemann has spent a decade making sure African roses look their very best for the buyers.
In Kenya, they put a wrapper around for the protection.
Okay.
They take off the wrapper.
Yeah.
They look into the flowers, hang them in the fingers to make them all the same level.
Right. And what else are they doing?
Take out the open flowers and the damaged flowers and put in a new stem.
What's the problem if they're open?
An open flower, like you can see here, is opens much quicker than the tight flower. So after 2-3 days, he is gone, and the other ones can stay for a couple of days longer.
Oh, I see. So as the consumer, I want flowers that are going to open all at the same time.
Yeah, that's true.
Once Hery and's team are happy with the quality, each bunch is tied and recut. This removes any decaying tissue from the end of the stem. It's a bit like unblocking a straw, and it helps the roses to drink water again. Finally, they're wrapped.
So they're starting to really look like the kind of thing that I would buy.
Now we put them on water.
Okay. So what is in the buckets? Is it just water?
It's water with an antibacterial.
Antibacterial. Why don't you put plant food in there?
Flower food is more for the consumer.
Okay.
They want the flowers more open.
Yes. Okay.
Now that the roses have been processed, they're taken to the chill rooms. Flowers aren't just arriving here from Africa. 3,000 trucks from all over Europe are delivering roses, tulips, lilies, and a myriad of other flowers to the auctions.
This whole operation is driven by one big purpose: to get these beautiful and fragile flowers into our homes and florists in pristine condition in the shortest time possible.
As soon as they arrive, the flowers are moved to huge refrigerators known as chill rooms. Each variety of flower needs to be stored at its own special temperature. There's just an hour to go before the auction starts. Buyers are coming to chill rooms all over the market complex to scrutinise the flowers and decide which ones they want to buy. Simon has gone to the chill room in Naaldwijk, which is full of roses ready for inspection.
I've come here to meet Bart. As the third biggest buyer of roses in Holland, he has hundreds of clients counting on him to deliver the best quality roses at the right price. But Bart only has a tiny window of time to decide which roses he's going to bid for today. So Bart, what are you looking for with these roses?
I'm looking if the quality is good, if they're not too tight, not too open. Kijk, this is a bit too open for today.
And do you do this every day?
I do this every day, yeah. Every day we need to check it. Every day we need to check it quickly, how they're looking.
So you need to make sure that what you're buying is fabulous.
I need to do it for the customer.
Yes.
And the eyes of the customer. There we go.
So you're able to look at a rose and know how much it's worth?
More and less, yeah. This one is a bit too tight. Now that tells me how much money I want to give for it.
Oh, okay. Yep.
In the morning. So I think not too much money today.
No.
Indeed, yeah.
Buying on such a huge scale gives Bart a lot of power. He can afford to bid higher, making a smaller margin on each rose and still make a good profit overall. This means Bart gets the roses he needs, elbowing out his smaller competitors. How much would you pay for a stem for a rose?
I think for this one, this is 7 centimeter. I think it's go up today till maximum 60 cents.
For a single stem?
Maximum. I hope I'm gonna buy them for 50, 55.
All the flowers sold at the auctions are graded by the growers into 3 categories: A1, A2 and B1. Most of the flowers we buy in the UK are A1s. A2 and B1 are cheaper and are usually sold to Eastern Europe and Russia.
Look, this is the A2.
This is what damage you see.
So that's a good one, that's a bad one?
Yeah, this one is too open, this one is too black.
Right.
It's all different head size in it, and that makes them A2.
Gosh, you really have to scrutinise these.
Yeah.
What quality is this?
This is A1.
A1.
This is more for the exclusive florists, I would say.
This is much bigger than the other ones. This is not much nicer than the other ones. It's a longer vase life than the other ones. It's nice to see as well.
Yes, yeah, it's really nice to see.
So I want to see them every day.
Yes.
Yeah.
1/3 of the roses that Bart buys today will go to the UK. Our second most loved flower, the lily, is also sold here in huge quantities. Mentioned in the Bible and associated with the Virgin Mary, the lily became the symbol of purity and chastity. The white lily in particular is given at funerals to symbolize the innocence of the soul. The regal lily, with its trumpet-shaped flowers, was brought to Britain from China in 1903. Today, the oriental varieties are the best-selling lilies in the UK. Many of these travel through the Dutch markets, where almost 300 million lilies are sold each year. Just like Dutch rose growers, the lily growers in Holland face increasing competition from countries with warmer climates and lower labour costs. To keep their market share, the Dutch are having to find cheaper ways to grow high-quality flowers. I've come to Rijnsburg to meet a grower who has totally transformed his business by investing 10 million euros on cutting-edge technology.
I've always imagined flower growing to be a traditional and labour-intensive business, but I'm about to meet a grower who's using a high-tech system to produce some of the best lilies in the world. This glasshouse is vast. It's the size of 16 football pitches, but the most astonishing thing is that the lilies are moving. I'm surrounded by an army of marching flowers.
This is the cutting edge of flower growing, developed to feed the market's insatiable hunger for lilies. In the UK alone, we import over £50 million worth of lilies each year. Half of the lilies grown in the Netherlands end up in the UK. 3 vast greenhouses cover over 20 acres and are filled with 16,000 moving beds of lilies growing under artificial sunlight. An entire ecosystem created to defy nature and grow the perfect lily 365 days a year. With a staff of just 18 people, it's almost entirely automated, and the only moving thing you'll see when you walk through here are lilies. Pau Lilies was founded almost a century ago, and managing director Wim Jan Pau is the 3rd generation of his family to grow lilies. He's brought me to see the first stage of the process.
Whoa. Oh my God. Wow.
So this is our stock of fresh, clean peat moss.
Why is it steaming?
Because of the steaming process, we sterilize the soil. We heat the peat up to 100 degrees. Because during the growth of the last crop, you have some harmful bacteria, and with steaming it, you kill those. And then we can reuse it again.
Don't you kill all of the nutrients in the soil?
No, they're still in it. That's not a
Still
problem.
in there.
No.
So this soil is clean, it's going to give you the best
That's the
results.
way. Yeah.
The soil is made up of peat moss from the Baltic states, chosen because it's lightweight, suits the mobile growing trays and the lilies, which like good drainage. Every day, around 150 tons of it pass through this plant to be recycled after each crop is harvested. The temperature of the steam is controlled to make sure any bacteria growing in the soil are killed. After cooling down for 3 days, it's ready for planting.
So here we do the planting. So as you can see, this is a medium-sized bulb, and depending on the variety, we place a number of bulbs in the crate. And the reason is we still do it by hand, is that the bulb has to face up.
You try?
Okay, can I have a go?
Yeah.
Okay, so you have to do them
Every time 2 hands.
all up.
Every time
2 hands. Okay, why 2 hands? Why
It's
2
more
hands?
efficient.
Okay. So where are these grown? Where do you get these from?
We buy the bulb from bulb growers, and every bulb gets only 1 stem. And the bigger the bulb is, the more flowers it gives per stem.
Is this a big bulb?
This is the extra large size, yeah.
This is an extra large. And how many flowers would you
At
expect
least
from that?
5, 6.
10 lily bulbs are planted in each crate and then moved out into the first of 3 glasshouses. Each one has its own carefully controlled microclimate. The temperature, lighting, and irrigation are all regulated by a central computer. This system produces stunning lilies in just a third of the time it would take if they were grown outdoors.
They go through 3 phases. This is the first stage over there.
Okay.
And then they come to this greenhouse. They stay about a month in this greenhouse.
Yes.
And after 2 months, so when they're 2 months old, they go to the last greenhouse when they start flowering. So they have different climate zones for different growing periods.
How interesting. So you're recreating the seasons.
Yeah. In the beginning, they like more springtime, so more cold. And this is the summertime, so here we need lots of light and temperature. And at the end, we need to cool it down a little bit to get the good quality.
The computer tracks the location of each tray, moving it through the glasshouses and seasons to maturity. Once the lilies are close to flowering, they are moved into the central hub, where human skills are still needed.
So after 3 months, they come here in the hub, but the problem is they're not all finished at the same time.
Okay, so how can you tell? Because to me, these all look
The
the
guys
same.
who are doing the harvesting, they have so much experience that they know exactly which one to pick. They just pick out the ones which are ripe enough.
So, for example, which one is ready and which one isn't?
You can see this one is start coloring, and probably this will pick this one.
Okay.
But this is still too green.
Right, so it's actually nothing about how tall they are, because those two are almost the same.
It's just this ones need another 3-4 days before it have to be ready.
Traditionally, workers have to go out into the huge glasshouses to harvest the flowers. But here, the lilies come to them. This has increased production by 15% without increasing the workforce, which has stayed at just 18 people.
How many stems are you cutting every day?
We do about between 40 and 50,000 stems a day.
That's absolutely incredible. How much does that equate to a year?
Yeah, we do about 10 million stems a year.
10 million.
Yeah, correct.
Once the lilies are cut, they're off to be graded. Each stem is sorted by number of flowers and bunched. Finally, they're wrapped, and within just a minute of being cut, they're back in the water.
So these are ready now to go
These ones
to
are ready to
auction.
go to the auction. Yeah.
So it's that quick?
Yeah.
So they're cut, sorted, packed, sold at auction, transported to England in 24 hours. So tomorrow night, these lilies could be on someone's kitchen table.
Yeah, that's what we work for. Yeah.
Wim sends all his lilies to the markets, where the auctions begin at 6 a.m. each day. 7 auctions run simultaneously across the market complex. Robert Janssen, the Flying Dutchman, was at the auction in Rijnsburg yesterday, but with UK Mother's Day looming, he's got to buy 30,000 stems of flowers to fill his orders. He has to leave for England by 1 p.m, so this is his last chance to buy what he needs. Robert has 30,000 euros to spend, but he is competing against 500 other buyers in the auction and 2,000 others online. His family's business hinges on the next 4 hours.
Is today a particularly busy day for you?
Yes. Mother's Day is more like the busiest for us, the busiest week.
How long have you been doing this?
19 years.
You've been doing it 90 years.
I was 17.
So did you come here with your dad originally?
Yes.
Well, you're your dream team. Yeah, no mistake.
Rijnsburg is where most of the small buyers, like Robert, come to get their flowers because it has lots of variety and they can buy here in smaller quantities.
So what are you buying today? What's on the shopping list?
Tulips
Tulips.
and some roses, but
And what particular colour?
at the moment it's all pink. Mother's
all
Day
pink.
is
Okay, so it's for Mother's Day.
Mother's Day is always pink.
Right.
I have to have a look now.
Okay, go for it, go for it.
It's just after 6 a.m. and the auction is underway. Most of the buyers here are Flying Dutchmen like Robert. They trade in smaller quantities, which means they need to have a bigger profit margin to make a living. The flowers are brought out on trolleys for buyers to view. Robert is keeping track of what's happening on the big screens. From these, he can see the variety, grower, quality and size, amount of stems for sale, and the country of origin.
So over here we've got flowers from Israel, we've got tulips from Holland, we've got roses from Kenya, we've just had some from Ethiopia, and we've had flowers from Italy, and they really are coming from all over the world, and they could end up anywhere. Robert, are you buying right now?
Just one moment.
In the center of each screen is a large circle of dots, which is called a Dutch auction clock. In auctions, the auctioneer starts with a high asking price, and as the clock counts down from 100, which is shown by the red dot, the price drops. It keeps dropping until a bid is made, which stops the clock. Buyers bid by pressing the button on their desk. But what makes these auctions so tricky is that the first bid wins. It seems more like a gamble than an auction. If Robert waits too long hoping to get a lower price, another buyer will get there first and win the bid. Every time the dot stops, flowers are sold. It's so fast that I find it impossible to keep up. On a busy day like this, there are over 100,000 transactions, totaling approximately 10 million euros.
So it seems to me that the real skill is all about timing. You can only bid once. The trick is to catch the moment where you get the lowest price without missing the batch. That seems to be the key. What have you just bought?
9 boxes of some medium orchids.
The orchids.
Yeah.
They are absolutely amazing. Are they expensive?
€2.50.
€2 for every
for the small
box is.
ones. No, a stem.
Every stem?
Yeah. You can't disappoint your customers. I gave them a price, and then it's up to me if I can buy it cheap or not. So
you carry the cost if you get the bid wrong?
yes.
So it is very stressful, and there's a huge amount of pressure on you to get it right.
Yes.
Robert, have you ever bought anything by mistake?
Yes. Everybody does.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
So I've just counted the women in here, and there's one, just the one woman. Who knew flowers was such a masculine industry?
Robert isn't just competing with everyone in the auction room. There are thousands of other traders online who are trying to buy the same flowers. Simon's gone to Naaldwijk on the other side of the market complex to catch up with one of the biggest buyers, Bart, who he met earlier.
Bart has his very own high-tech dealing room that allows him and his team to buy huge quantities of flowers at all 7 auctions in the market complex without leaving the office. Each buyer specialises in just one type of flower. Bart's been busy buying the Dutch roses he was checking out earlier, and trading has been hectic. So Bart, tell me, how many stems have you been buying today?
It's 1.4 million till now.
1.4 million stems?
Yes.
Already?
Already.
And we're
Still running, I think, for another hour.
Another hour? It's a busy,
yeah, it's
really
busy day.
And you're buying from 3 different flower markets?
Yeah, 3 different auctions, yeah.
So this is this
Aalsmeer.
screen shows me what's happening in Aalsmeer,
Yeah.
and it's a different grower.
I need to buy them, blue.
Oh, sorry. So you just bought, no? Did you buy, yeah, you bought those.
50s. I bought for 39 cents.
And that's a good price?
Yeah, that's a good price. It's a really good price.
Bart isn't just filling his clients' orders. When he spots a good deal, he's buying extra, hoping to sell them on his company web shop to florists all over Europe. You bought those?
Yeah, that was Golden Ambition, was a yellow rose here.
Yeah.
60 centimeter. I've got now in my stock 1,200 bins of roses that need to go today or tomorrow.
So today or tomorrow, you've got to shift.
You can check it. It's 52,000 stems.
52,000 stems that you alone have got to shift.
And they need to go today or tomorrow.
Today or tomorrow. And what happens if they don't?
Then I've got a problem.
70 to 80% of the flowers that Bart buys will be sold online. But his company also serves wholesalers and florists directly. On a busy week like this, they will send over 150 trucks into the UK. It's Robin Hesselberth's job to ensure that all these flowers get to their clients on time.
It's not only having the best quality flowers, price needs to be good, and you have to be the quickest.
So if you get an order in from a flower shop in the UK, how long have you got to get the flowers?
If I got my order in before, let's say 4 a.m. in the morning, it can be at the florist shop within 24 hours.
Within 24 hours, you can have those flowers in the UK?
6 days a week.
6 days a week. In less than 4 hours of trading, Bart and his team have spent almost 600,000 euros buying flowers.
Back in the auction, Robert is buying the last of his orders. He's managed to get all the flowers that he needs for his budget of 30,000 euros.
Do you love the thrill of it, the buzz, the excitement?
Yes. The buying I do love, to make sure that I buy the best quantity for the best price. You make a sport out of it to have the cheapest. So
it's hunting. It's hunting
Yes.
for the perfect prize.
Yes.
Will you let me buy something?
Yeah. And then just go to the clock, say number 6, and then you have to put your thumb on that thing.
On the button?
You can buy, say, the Mont Blanc. Just push it when it is a bit lower than this. Not yet. Just push it now and just say 1.
Now?
Yeah, now.
1. How many did I buy? 2 boxes?
2, yeah.
Fine. Is your house always full of flowers?
Yes, but that's also a good thing, because then I see how the quality is well. So then you see what it is.
So what do you get your wife for her birthday? She probably doesn't want flowers,
No.
does she?
Diamonds.
Diamonds.
Now the auction is finished, Robert has to wait around 2.5 hours for his flowers to arrive. In the buyer's depot, his truck is already half full with the flowers he bought yesterday. There's a dazzling array of different varieties and colours. But his largest purchase is Holland's most famous flower and one of the most loved in the world, the tulip. The tulip is the 3rd best-selling flower in the UK. We love them because they're colourful, uplifting, and inexpensive. They originally came from the mountains of Central Asia. The Persians began growing tulips over 1,000 years ago, and the Ottoman sultans loved their bold colours. Soon after the first bulbs arrived in Holland, the upper classes fell in love with this exotic flower. At the height of tulip mania, a single bulb could be bought and sold for the price of a house. The tulip market crashed in 1637, but by then it had become one of the most loved flowers in Holland. Today, it's the cornerstone of the Dutch flower industry. Every year, vast sums of money are spent studying the species, helping growers develop new and better varieties. I'm meeting Professor Beverly Glover, a British scientist who has spent decades investigating the sex lives of flowers, including the tulip.
So I'm going to take you to see some tulips that show some really nice patterns of colour and how they use those to attract different sorts of pollinators. So this is a wild tulip species, and you can see that it's got this wonderful yellow target, like a bullseye, in the middle of these pink petals. And that's to make it easy for the pollinator. So rather than having to think from a distance about where to land to get at the nectar and the pollen, you can see, you just go straight for the centre of the bullseye.
Such bright colours, and all of them have that target in the middle.
That's right, so the bullseye is very important. So you can see it here in this red tulip with this strong black centre. That's another way of achieving the same things. But of course, insects see in a different colour spectrum from us. They don't see the same range of colours we do, and they see into the ultraviolet, which we can't. So some flowers do this similar kind of bullseye patterning, but we can't see it. It's only visible to the insects.
So what does it look like?
Well, it looks just like an unpatterned flower to us, something like a buttercup or an evening primrose. Let me take you over and show you one. So this is a great example of a plant that has a bullseye on the flower that we just can't see at all. So it's a buttercup, and what you can see is this astonishing gloss. It's really shiny, isn't it? Really bright, shiny and yellow, but you can't see any pattern. But if we look at it in the UV, which is how the insect can see it, then you see there's this really clear bullseye in the centre, just like with the visible ones we saw in the tulips.
It looks completely different.
Yeah.
So if I was an insect, that is what I would see if I was approaching that flower.
Yeah.
So this is developed purely so that the flower can reproduce, so that it can carry on breeding.
Yeah, that's right. All of this advertising, and you can think of it as adverts, they're billboards, are there to bring in insects, make sure the flower gets pollinated, make sure there's seed in another generation to come.
Today, tulip growers build upon this knowledge to breed an extraordinary range of different varieties that they sell at the markets.
As the flower industry grows every year, the thirst for new varieties is never ending. Growers invest millions of euros in trying to create something new that we customers cannot resist.
The tulip, the flower that started the Dutch Revolution, has changed enormously since it came here in the 16th century. There are now over 8,000 different varieties. And that's thanks to growers like Geert Hageman, who has been breeding them for almost 40 years.
So what's through here?
Tulips, tulips, tulips. This was taken in 2 days ago.
Oh gosh, it's already sprouting.
Yes, and that was about 5 days ago.
Okay. God, they grow quickly.
It's almost 2 weeks.
I love that there are some renegade ones that just have grown massively tall. Yeah. They're particularly Dutch tulips, really tall. So what's through here?
Over here we have a testing room from all new varieties. Ooh. These are varieties that are for the first time in the greenhouse. We have bred this 2010.
Whoa.
So it takes 6 years before you have this bulb. And then it takes another 20 years before you have enough for going to the auction.
So it takes 25 years to cultivate a new breed?
Yeah, that takes 25 years.
Wow, that's some love.
Geert wants to show me some of the tulips he bred 6 years ago that are flowering for the first time.
Oh, wow.
This part is for one mother and one father.
So these are all brothers and sisters?
They are all brothers and sisters.
So they came from 2 parent bulbs?
Yeah.
But they're so different.
Yes.
So how do you crossbreed tulips? I mean, do they go on a date?
Yeah, yes, there is a date, and I will make an example. The first important part is that you are taking away the pollen from the plant what we are choosing.
So that's the daddy plant?
Yes.
Okay. Because you love that one.
Yes, because it is heavy.
Heavy and strong.
This is a lot of crispa. We call that crispa.
Kind of like little teeth?
Yeah.
Okay.
You are taking...
Oh, you brush it?
Brush it.
Okay, to get the pollen off.
Pollen out.
And then you put it onto the stamen.
Stamen.
Oh, I see. Yeah. So you're taking the genetics from one plant and mixing them with the other.
Totally right. This is a little bit too early because on a certain moment it is a little bit hairy. Yeah, I know. And then the pollen stays on the stamen.
So you have to wait for the lady to be nice and hairy.
Yeah.
I mean, I love it.
And after 5 or 6 weeks, the stamen is growing. And we have some examples on that side of the window. And that is growing after 6 or 7 weeks.
That's the stamen?
That is the stamen.
That is massive. Yeah. What? The stamen actually grows?
Yeah, yes.
Oh, God, I did GCSE biology, and that is, I must have forgotten that bit.
And in the stamen, you now see there's some seeds. And the seeds you are planting in the autumn. And you get, a year after, you get small bulblets. And then after 5 years, you see the first flowers.
You have to be a patient person to breed tulips. So from this batch that are all from the same stamen, which ones are you going to choose?
I think only this one.
So that yellow one, that's the only one you'll keep?
Last year we were growing about 100,000 new varieties, and we kept only 100. And that was it.
That's it? So
Yeah.
do you have anything here that is a fantastic success that you've bred, something new?
Yeah, we have another greenhouse. So I will show you one of my favorites. Especially the color and also the form.
Oh,
You see?
wow. Oh, my God. Did you breed that?
Yes, I
You
bred that.
bred that?
Yeah. This is a crossing from about 20 years ago.
That's incredible.
It looked like a peony.
Yes, it does. It's beautiful. And that took you 20 years?
Yeah, 20 years.
So how many tulips have you created, have you bred in that time?
I think more than 100.
That's incredible. Yeah. Is that one of your favourites of the whole programme?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, because he is totally different.
Heert is one of the biggest suppliers of tulips to the markets. Each day, 7 million tulips, along with tens of millions of other flowers, are sold at auction. The moment any flower is bought, they're taken to a huge buffer zone to be distributed to the buyer. And it's Edward Moritz's job to get them to the correct destination.
So, Edward, can you please explain what is going on here?
This is the start of the distribution process. In 2.5 hours, the buyer should have his flowers.
It's 11 a.m. in Aalsmeer, and the flowers need to travel almost 2 kilometers to the special depot on the other side of the complex, where the buyers are waiting. Many buyers purchase small amounts of different flowers. These are first grouped together so they can be delivered in one big batch.
People are whizzing around, crisscrossing with each other, and yet no one seems to be banging into each other.
That's because we train them a lot.
The flowers are then taken in caravans to a special loading bay. Every moment is critical, so now they're loaded onto the fastest electrical monorail in the world. It has 18 kilometers of track, 13,000 trolleys, and a max speed of 180 meters a minute. Engineer Adwin Sol installed the system, and it's his job to make sure that it runs like clockwork.
Ooh.
Be careful.
Oh my gosh. I'm assuming we're not allowed to ride on the shuttle.
No.
Okay. Oh wow, look at this.
The monorail collects flowers from 10 stations and carries them over a busy road via a 500-meter bridge.
How many trolleys are going across every day?
On a busy day like now, it's about 16,000 transports a day.
16,000 transports today?
Yeah.
Wow.
In the buyer's warehouse at Rijnsburg Market, the flowers have landed. Danny van der Merge, a former Flying Dutchman, is now the UK sales manager for a big export company. He's just taken delivery of some of the Kenyan roses that I saw being grown. Like Bart, Danny has embraced a new way of selling in this rapidly changing market. His company, Rhines Flowers, sell huge amounts of flowers online, and uploading reliable photographs is crucial to the success of this business. They have installed an ingenious computer system in the warehouse that reads each barcode and decides how to take the best photographs of each bucket of flowers. Wow. So that takes a photo.
Yes.
That then you immediately upload.
Yeah.
And then any florist in a flower shop throughout Europe can look and access those.
Throughout the world even.
Throughout the world.
Yes.
And be buying immediately.
Yes. What has been bought this morning at 8 o'clock will be in our premises at 10 o'clock and will be anywhere in in Europe the next morning by 8 o'clock.
All the flowers bought at this morning's auctions are ready to be loaded up for the buyers. Robert Jansen's flowers have arrived. His wife Anya has come to help him pack up his lorry before he heads off to the UK.
In times like this, Mother's Day, Valentine's Day, he's going away today and he's back at next Wednesday, I think.
Gosh, that's a long time.
Yeah.
A normal week is leaving Sunday morning at 7 and driving to England. Then we're back, say, Tuesday evening.
Yeah.
You must miss your kids so much when you're away.
Yes.
Really?
Especially when in the morning.
Yeah.
Are you going again?
Yes, of course.
Sometimes he thinks, the kids think this is his home.
They think he lives here.
Especially the little one. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Now Robert has turned from buyer to seller. Once he arrives in the UK, he heads to Weymouth. Over the next 34 hours, he needs to sell all the flowers in his truck.
Hello.
This is the first day, we're now in Weymouth. It's a third customer, so we've got quite a few to do now.
Lilac stocks would be nice. Another lilac, a couple of lilac stocks.
Robert has 48 customers spread over 300 miles along the south coast of England.
I think I was going for
Florists, fruit and veg shops, and market traders. In London, at Simon's studio, his team are unloading a delivery of flowers from the Dutch markets, including some Tambuzi roses. Simon is using them to make some spectacular table arrangements for a big charity dinner at Christie's.
Having seen where the flowers come from, one of the things I've realised is the fact that people that grow the flowers, sell them, transport them, all of them are as passionate about flowers as we are. They realise the value and beauty of the product. And I mean, look at that rose, that's absolutely gorgeous. Grown in Kenya, it's flown all this way, thousands of miles, and it's as beautiful as if it had come from your garden. And it will last for days on end. Flowers knock some of the rough edges off life and make it a whole lot more enjoyable for many, many people, but also they sustain a lot of people.
In a 34-hour run, Robert has managed to sell everything in his lorry. In 2 days' time, he'll be back at the auctions buying his next load of flowers. There's just 2 hours to go before the charity dinner begins.
I hate it when they do that. What's wrong? I hate it when they do that.
And Simon's flower arrangements have arrived at Christie's.
Very happy, it's wonderful. I like to see a job coming in. This is the last part of the chain, the flower chain, the journey that these flowers have taken. Next time you've got a bunch of flowers at home, you can look at it and just think how much effort has gone into producing every single petal, leaf, stem and stamen. It is extraordinary.
I've always loved flowers, and all my life I've given them to the people I love the most. But now I realise that I had no idea of the ingenuity and effort it takes to get them here. There's only one person in the world that loves flowers more than I do, my mum. And now I can tell her just how special these flowers are.
Taking the mickey for a laughing comedy here next on BBC Two as everyone heads round to Mum to offload. That's probably why she's in need of getting rid of so much stuff.